I believe that we need to end homelessness, and some of these speakers reinvigorate my passion to do that, because they create such sadness in me that they are in such a condition that they would waste their time in city council to make superfluous arguments about things that we don't care about and will not act on. So I do not want Zumadog dictating policy for the city of Los Angeles. That is wrong. And 99.9% of the people that see him believe me. So
next item, please.
Next item is item number 8, and that was called special for cards.
We have Mr. Charlie Brown for 1 minute.
I like that, y'all. To the people at home, he's calling me Charlie Brown, and that's a kind of little fun humor I do appreciate and enjoy, and I'm always willing to...
Sir, if you could watch your language, please.
Okay. Yeah, I don't cuss, y'all. I don't cuss. They just, sometimes they get passionate. I am talking about passionate things.
That is a warning.
Yes. Okay. I guess watch the language as far as don't cuss. I mean, I don't think I ever have, so please continue to interrupt me to issue that warning. Now I'm not so happy. But this is about Paul Koretz. He has a motion. Yes, the guy's barely been here at all. The guy's really impressing Zumadog. The homeless, boy, it just really got my heart racing. If I could please have some quiet. You know, this is the 3. If you want to know, what 3 years feels like, people, city council members, hello. Yes.
If you'll please lower your voice, we're listening to you. And if
just for the record, you're interrupting me, and if you want to go back 3 years...
Mr. Dog, we'll give you 3 seconds back, but please, if you'll make sure you please lower your voice and not yell at the council.
Okay.
Thank you.
Then can I request... Is this too loud? I'm talking to my damn voice. Okay, everybody else is here talking. All right. Now, let me tell you something, people. If you want to know what 3 years feels like, it's today.
All right, that marks the end of public comment. Mr. Dog is our next speaker.
Boy, Jan Perry's just doing anything to not let me talk. Oh, I think his time's up. Oh, forget to call me. Hey, no, Jan. Zumadog! And I like to remind you...
Just to let you know, I will turn your mic off if you try to break the equipment today. So keep your voice down. Turn it down. Turn it off, please. Turn your voice down, or I'm turning it off. Okay, bye. Turn it off. Goodbye. Thank you. Thank you. Goodbye. You used the profanity. You are excused from the chamber for how long, Mr.? I would like to ask you to remove Mr. Dog. Remove Mr. Dog. Thank you. And he is excused from the chamber for how long, Mr. City Attorney? 30 calendar days. That'll be 30 calendar days. Thank you. Up to 30 council days, Mr. Dog. Thank you. Mr. What is the next item, Madam Clerk?
Item 43 is a closed session item.
That don't fly with Zumadog. I don't say that you send out inspectors and they get paid by the inspection. Well, that just motivates them to keep going out there and doing more inspections, and the people never get off the program, and then they lose the property, and then the people are kicked out in the streets. And I'd like to tell everybody that Herb Wesson is the housing chair.
Zumadog, direct your attention to the council member at large, not in particular. The council at large, not in particular.
The council at large, you big bald buffoon. You're fucking on your...
You're done. You're removed. Sergeant Arms, remove him for his inappropriate language. Zumadog, you are now being removed. 30 days. Ms. Hahn recommends 30 days suspension from the council. 30 days, Mr. Zumadog. Mr. Alicon?
Rules. If I think you're fucking inept, I can say it, and there's no reason for anyone to say otherwise.
Okay, that's all, sir. You're done. Out. Please take him out. You violated the council rules. You know better. Please escort him out.
Mr. Smith.
Jared Wright, next speaker.
Mr. Smith, for the record, Mr. Dogg and Mr. Dowd have disrupted the meeting with their language and with their conduct.
This is a repeated, so this is a 30-day expulsion? This is a 30-day expulsion. And notify your friend, Mr. Zog, that he also committed a violation as he exited. Mr. Wright, please excuse the confusion.
Mr. President, he does not have to get into personal...
Zuma Dog, you're disrupting the meeting. Sergeant at Arms, remove him from chambers. You're being removed from chambers. You're disrupting the meeting, and remove you from the chambers. You're ejected. Ankur Patel. Ankur Patel, our next speaker. Mr. Wheeler.
For decorum purposes and respect in these chambers, no one should tell our city attorney to shut up. I would ask that this individual be suspended again for 30 days.
30 council days. Mr. Zuma Dog is suspended from speaking before this body for 30 council days.
Mr. President,
Mr. City Attorney.
I would suggest it be limited to 30 calendar days because of the ongoing litigation in federal courts.
Then we will...
And because sticks and stones don't break my bones.
We will go by 30 calendar days, being today this will not be the first day. The first day will be tomorrow, the 14th. 30 days from tomorrow, the 14th. Mr. Ankur, go ahead.
Money for the community. This is illegal. I'm going to sue. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. That will close our public comment on that one. If we can please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Restart the clock, y'all. It's the commission appointments that all go down just like this one, warm and fuzzy. It's a great person, has done so much, a community leader, very educated. And again, I don't know this candidate from the rest. And all the council members get up and approve the appointments. But then we find out $7 billion was lost in pension money from these exact commission appointments that come through just like this with all the same accolades. And then we find SEC investigations. I spoke with District Attorney Steve.
Madam President, he should be directing his comments to this commission appointment.
Thank you, Dion. Thank you. And I hope you got my second message yesterday. I apologize. But then what I'd like to say, I don't know how else to say it. I guess I'd have to say vote no on all Villaraigosa commissioners until the feds have sorted out this mess. Because here's why it's important to council. Just be very aware of who you're appointing. Because when you approve somebody that ends up getting arrested for corruption and money laundering through these commission appointments, well, you have signed on. Your name is on this appointments. And, hey, I think you're too small fish for them to really get involved with, but you are held accountable. And I'm here to say corruption occurs through these commission appointments. VLAR's only job is to appoint the commissioners and get out of the way.
Thank you. This item is now before us. Madam Clerk, if you...
So we need to put an immediate hold on all this nonsense spending. They can go watch, cable TV or watch a movie on the internet. Enough of these shenanigans with all the money. It always sounds good and warm and fuzzy. And again, I didn't hear what Janice had to say because I can't take it. And it doesn't matter anyway because I saw the Fox 11 John Schwada investigative report into what Janice Hahn does with the nonprofit money, with the gang intervention money, with all the money. I heard that in Janice Hahn's district, well, that's in the Port of Los Angeles. That's her district.
Mr. President, I don't believe he's on topic on this one.
Well, it's her thing, isn't it? It's in her district. Okay, well, I'd just like to say that means they're not going to have money. That means they're going to need affordable housing. Meanwhile, I'd like to admonish City Council of historic proportions and special note to Council Member Herb Wesson, who sat there as the housing chair and destroyed the character of the city forever and ever and ever. And all of this affordable housing that now you're trying to do after the fact, after you got a Great Depression, after nobody can afford to live here, after you're going to have a great riot. It's not going to be the Great Depression. It's going to be great riots. And Herb Wesson sat there at the Housing Committee and let this all happen. I am so
Madam
upset.
President, he's not talking about this item.
And this is about, I say you better.
Thank you very much. Your time is up. Mr. Matthew Dowd is our next speaker.
Yes, thank you, City Council, and to the good people of Los Angeles watching at home today. I've never been happier to be at this podium to expose a City Council agenda item. What we have here is the biggest outrage I've ever seen in my effing career as a gadfly. All right, now remember that Jerry Brown, the governor, that I would not want to piss off, wants that money back into the city, not for redevelopment, but to provide services like fire that you're not able to provide. And I'm going to get to the on topic. So for the people at home, now they want to take $52 million for a parking garage and museum of Eli Broad. Now, this money is supposed to be for Blight. It's right next door to City Hall and LAPD. Is this Blight downtown? And is this a city that is in need of an Eli Broad fancy schmancy museum downtown? Let's take a vote by a show of hands. I don't think there's a person in this damn city that would say they want to spend $52 million for a stupid gosh damn museum of Eli Broad. Go screw yourself, Eli Broad. And
sir, if you could please control yourself and lower your voice. Thank you.
Any of you that vote for this, I will make sure that the whole city knows you voted in this crisis to give Broad $52 million for a stupid museum and parking garage, and this money could be used for fire, police, potholes, graffiti, every department, everything that you are firing people for. And Greg Smith, that sourpuss loser who's been wrong every step of the way, is shaking his head no. I'm here to tell you that this money could be released to the general fund by the Governor Jerry Brown. Hey, Greg Smith, you're a historic loser, you jackass clown.
Kick Mr. Dog out of here.
Let me talk about Richard Alarcon for a second, because, boy, he had some day-to-day in committee meeting. First of all, Alarcon, I feel, is the biggest, most problematic council member in the history with this children's museum funneling, and he lies to my face. I'm here to say he's a vagrant liar.
Direct your comments to the council.
I am. I want the council to talk
without the name of the council member, Mr. Dog. Your time is running. You know the rules.
You're telling me I can't address a council member issue that I have? Because you don't have the money to afford to operate, you don't have the infrastructure, and you're going bankrupt. And so the thing is, I'd like to say here, the final the report.
Mr. Dog, if I can just stop you for a sec. We can hear you better, and we can actually turn your voice up louder if you're a little further from the microphone. Don't worry.
Thank you. Hefe, someone tried to stab him to death.
Mr. Dog, if you could just lower your voice a little bit. Thank you, just for the volume. Thank you.
Hefe, someone tried to stab him to death last week because you, the city of Los Angeles, you got a bad history of losing for getting sued for things. Why don't you just tell people that they have to drive only green cars, and then make them pay a fee for green cars, and then say we're going to set up a division to enforce and inspect for green cars. This is crazy. You overreach and overstep your boundaries time after time. Look what happened at Venice Beach. Look what happened with the Hollywood superheroes. Look what happened with medical marijuana. It's a trifecta of loserness, and I'm here to say it's going to be getting much worse. So don't overreach anymore. Make your New Year's resolution for 2011 that you're not going to overreach anymore. And I'd like to remind you,
Mr. Dog, if you could bring it back to the ordinances that are before us, the Cal Green ordinances.
Ordinances is shady. How do I know it's shady? Because it's on the agenda. You're a racketeering shakedown factory. Yes, we're talking here about approving another liquor store, and I'd like to remind council about the medical marijuana ordinance. I certainly hope that you take this alcohol as seriously as marijuana. I'm here to say I would much rather be in a car with somebody that smoked way too much marijuana than somebody that drank way too much alcohol. And everybody's so concerned about, gee, what about collectives that might sell to kids? Gee, what about underage drinking? Underage drinking is a much bigger problem. And so, first of all, I'd like to congratulate LA City Council. Here's the headline regarding the medical marijuana. Today, LA City Council voted to push medical marijuana sales.
Sir, if you'll bring it back to this item before us. You can talk about that as general comment.
This statement I'm about to read is a precursor to what I'm going to say after it, and I don't think it's City Council's job to be my mind reader to try to figure out where I'm going to go next. It's called the First Amendment, it's called the Brown Act, and I don't want anybody interrupting me, and when I'm making a point, and it's very germane.
Sir, if you'll please lower your voice. Thank you. Okay, you've now gotten personal. Sir, you've lost your right to speak right here. You know the code of conduct.
And I have some very important information to deliver. I need some support to show that it's not just my voice, but also my good friend Matt Dowd, who supports me on this.
Mr. Dowd, if we could ask you to just sit down you can be right there next to him if you don't mind, but you could be right next to him, right there in the second row. But if you
Stop the clock, please. Stop the clock until
please
it's
clear that.
resolved.
Mr. Dowd, that's our clock to control. Would you please sit down, Mr. Dowd, just for a
Look
second?
what's happening here.
Listening.
Okay, can you turn your volume up?
In the back, if you'll please sit down, sir. First, we can have order in the chambers.
I can't hear you.
I said, if you'll please come back to the item before us, item 30, the California Jobs Budget.
The rest of it with photo opportunities, like the one he just gave with Zuma Dog. And, you know, you've heard of Si Se Puede? I got a new one. It's over for Villaraigosa. It's over for Villaraigosa. I'd like everybody at home watching on TV to join in the chant. It's over for Villaraigosa. This is the final nail in the coffin.
Please address your comments to the council, please.
What do you think I was just doing?
Address it to items that are before our purview.
Then
Thank
I'd like
you.
to tell council.
Mr. Blue, thank you much, Mr. Zuma Dog. Robert Blue, followed by Doug Haynes.
Your friends, your family members, they sit on the boards. Then the money is voted and approved and funneled into these nonprofit accounts. That is, I call it cahootsism. Racketeering is what the federal government calls
Mr.
it.
Zuma Dog, you had 1 minute left, so
Well, you know what? If you guys made an error, can I please finish? Because I'm basing it on this clock. So we got to watch these nonprofits. I'm very distracted, y'all. I'm very distracted. Shh. I'll pull a Wendy Gruhl. So what we want to do, I would like to have, and speaking of Wendy Gruhl, when she is controller, I hope she runs an audit of all the nonprofits before they get on the money list to make sure we're not giving money to a big black hole of corporates. And you got ghost employees. Let's talk about ghost employees, man. I got this bat computer. You run someone's name through it. They're not even an employee, but they're taking a paycheck. What's that all about? Fancy vehicles, cars, people's husbands and wives that sit on the boards.
You should talk to the item that's before us.
Okay, the item before us. Well, let me just say I support Chief Park's motion for an audit of all nonprofits before they get on the money list, y'all. And we'll just leave it at that on the realist, though. Zuma Dog.
Thank you, Mr. Dog. Next is Miriam.
I've been coming here for 3 years. I've been warning you about all of this. I mean, really? The budget, I don't need to recap the LA Times and everything. You know what you have to do. What I'm here to present is some information that really needs to come to the table here, because I don't know if people heard. $7 billion, with a B, $7 billion was lost in Wall Street in the pension fund, of which I am here to say is massive corruption. We are now seeing arrests that are happening that tie right back to City Hall. And council members can laugh and giggle, but it's going to be very costly when we have special elections for some of your council seats and for the mayor and for a lot of people over the $7 billion loss in pension fund. Do you people understand? Forget about the $500 million budget deficit. We have a $7 billion loss in the stock market, and I was warning you on the record. Each one of you are held accountable because you continue to approve the commissioners. I warned you for years that the mayor's commissioner appointments, and especially relating to the pension fund, is a money laundering, corrupt racket. And now I have the New York Attorney General that seems to agree. And we have Julio Ramirez of Weatherly Capital, who is pled guilty, and it's going to tie right back to City Hall. It's going to tie right back to Villaraigosa. It's going to tie right to Jack Weiss, who's not here today. So you really need to do something, and it's called belt tightening. And it's not about 10% here and 10% there. I don't even know what to say. It's too late, people. I'm here to say it's too late. After coming here for 3 years, warning you on the record, and I hope you all go to prison for appointing and approving the commissioners that I warned on the record. You're damn right. I'm pissed. I deserve to be, because
take down your voice.
Take down the voice. Let me be a little more. Okay, I can't even do it. I can't even do it. This is so outrageous. You blew. Each and every one of you are held accountable for squandering $7 billion in corrupt money laundering.
We need real mixed-use affordable housing. If SCAG is indeed making you build all this high density to hit their numbers, then I would suggest doing things that accommodate the community. Real types of amenities. It's called LA Live, y'all, and it's robbing the community blind. They've cut all kinds of deals. We got the grand.
Boy, you know what? I'd just like to say for the record, a lot of bullshit going on here, because you're not supposed to have.
Mr. Dog. Sir? If you'll If you'll please try to use language, well, hold your time, hold on. If you'll please try to use language that does not disrupt the meeting. If you'll please try to use language that does not disrupt the meeting. Again, we have students that come in here, we have other people. I'm asking you please to. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
And please make sure, please allow the council to, president to run the meeting, not random council members who are control freaks. I appreciate that. And now this is about, now let's talk about pension fraud. Go to LACityNews.com because Zuma Dog is blowing the roof off of pension fraud as it relates to Antonio Villaraigosa, the CRA. And if I was looking into it, I'd look into Ron Burkle, Willie Brown, Richard Reardon, Richard Alatorre, Richard Ziman. What is it with the name Richard? And we can look at Mike Roos, Victor McFarland. I'm tearing it down. It goes to the CRA, Henry Cisneros, HUD Housing. Where's that going to point? You don't want to settle with me, I'm going to mess you up.
Sir, we'll be warned about a threat there at the end. If you'd like to express your opinions, we're happy to hear them. But please avoid any threats. Matt Dowd is our next speaker. Sir? You've just been disruptive of the meeting, and I want to establish that on the record by swearing to this group and by talking when we have other people going. I've been trying to be very respectful, sir, that you have the ability to express your opinions, but when you start threatening folks, especially in this environment, we will take that extremely seriously. If you can please remove Mr. Dog from the council chambers for today. Arnold Sachs is going to follow Mr. Dowd.
Yeah, first of all, that's another as applied. John Walsh goes batty and nuts and goes crazy here, and you give him all these 3 warnings. That's your final warning, Mr. Walsh. Now sit down. So thank you, city attorneys, if you're watching that one. Eric Garcetti, selective enforcement of the Code of Conduct. Why? Because we sued it.
Talking about the region, y'all 15 council members are part of SCAG. But now let's talk about CD4. Oh, Miriam is here. Come on, Miriam. Yeah, we got a celebrity in the house.
Items that are before us, please, or something under
it's general public comment, but I'd like to thank everybody in CD14. Zuma Dog hosted a candidate forum. I'm here to say we got 14 people, many of them that may be under federal investigation as we speak. And the reason, let's talk about why we need to take back this council district from the Zuma Dog candidate that will be determined. The number one thing, we must get control of the pension board. It's been clearly established that Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, through his commission appointments, through his money backing, they take the pension money, they funnel it into their risky projects, and Zuma Dog as city, it sounds like I'm not going to be able to stop myself because I've already said Zuma Dog as
Mr. President, we're not talking about this elections, I think. Not on...
goes out of there, and all his commissioner appointments. Zuma Dog will be the watchdog.
He's off the target on this one.
What?
I think you're off the target on this matter. Mr.
No, this is CD. This is...
Mr. City Attorney.
He is once again off topic.
All right, thank you, Mr. Zuma Dog. That completes that matter.
Commissioner appointments until we have had the investigation. There's been arrests made regarding Weatherly Capital, and commissioner appointments have been stepping down. There's investigations in New York Attorney General's offices.
He's off topic on this appointment.
On this appointment, I want to know on all Antonio Villaraigosa appointments because Zuma Dog is aware of corruption regarding his appointments. When I ran for mayor, I spent valuable time saying I feel the big issue in the city is the mayor's commissioner appointments and the corruption.
We're talking about a particular commissioner that is before.
And the corruption.
We're talking about a particular commissioner that is before us. You have 30 seconds left. The clock is not working there in the valley.
Then I'm trying to give you reasons for no. Is it just enough? Does Zuma Dog have that much power? I could walk up here and say, no, I'm giving you reasons. And I would also like to remind you regarding this commissioner appointment, as with all of them, whether the mayor is putting in shady commissioner appointments, you are approving them. So let me just say, be very aware before you issue a yes vote of any Villaraigosa commissioner appointments. Because when you look back in the past, there's a history of corruption and
Thank you very much, Mr. Zuma.
And so,
Mr. Zine.
We're about to face something in history that we have never seen before, and it's called depression. So please, and now I've just run into the next minute, so I'll just keep talking. So I'd like to implore the people. And let's just say, Zuma Dog, I'm running for city council, and
if we could bring it back to the food donation legislation that's at hand, Mr. Dog.
I'd like to say, as a city council candidate, I would like to say that I would be stepping up on this one. And again, we've got a lot of big issues.
Please, again, consider that a warning. We're asking folks to be able to express their opinions in a respectful way in the same way that we try to do as well. So with that, we will close our general public comment. Thank all of our folks that came.
Something is wrong with this project. And you,
Mr. Zumudog, you're out of order. You are out of order.
Cut him off.
Out of order. That is your warning. Mr. Hunt.
Also, I want to say there's a person who comes in here who keeps advocating freedom of speech, Mr. Zumudog, and he's supposedly an advocate for homeless people, etc. But I just want to say, and he's been asked to leave the council meeting several times, I think the council should know if a person, if I've gone to his website and I've tried to post something on his blog page, on his comment, and Google Blogger says that the owner, is up to the owner whether or not he allows you to post a comment. Mr. Zumudog does not want people to post a comment, and I think if somebody is supposedly an advocate for freedom of speech, and he comes in here and he wants his freedom of speech, but he doesn't allow freedom of speech, I think that he shouldn't be allowed to say anything at all if he's not allowing anybody to say anything at his pages on his website. Also, the state of Florida just...
Bill Huey was here. He's absolutely right. Hey, city council, as someone that wants to be mayor, do something about REAP. I don't want to walk into City Hall with an avalanche of lawsuits over your rent escrow program. You're evil and wicked the way you treat landlords. And Eric Garcetti looks very nervous right now for the people at home. I spoke with him on Friday. I say you look nervous. That's my opinion.
I know you have your opinion. Mr. Dog, if you'll please lower your voice. You can say whatever you want, but you cannot be Mr. Dog, that's funny. You can please turn off the microphone for a second. Mr. Dog, there is a list that we have there of ways that we have every speaker try to respectfully address. You've asked me to tell you to do this when you come down. We will give you your time back. Mr. Dog, you're being disruptive to the meeting. If you can please expel Mr. Dog from the chambers. Excuse me.
Is this a city that is in need of an Eli Broad fancy schmancy museum downtown? Let's take a vote by a show of hands. I don't think there's a person in this damn city that would say they want to spend $52 million for a stupid gosh damn museum of Eli Broad. Go screw yourself, Eli Broad. And
sir, if you could please control yourself and lower your voice. Thank you.
Any of you that vote for this, I will make sure that the whole city knows you voted in this crisis to give Broad $52 million for a stupid museum and parking garage, and this money could be used for fire, police, potholes, graffiti, every department, everything that you are firing people for. And Greg Smith, that sourpuss loser who's been wrong every step of the way, is shaking his head no. I'm here to tell you that this money could be released to the general fund by Governor Jerry Brown. Hey, Greg Smith, you're a historic loser, you jackass clown.
Kick Mr. Dog out of here. We have warned you about making personal insults that is in the code of conduct that is there on the podium. And sir, please remove Mr. Dog. Our next speaker is Donna Perriman in Van Nuys. No, sir. You've been warned before.
Okay.
It's Donna Perriman. I really like what Zumudog had to say. I hope somebody tells him over there, tell him that me and Marion Poliga really likes what he has to say, because I agree with him.
How about something like Microsoft or like Silicon Valley or something really innovative? You got all that land. Anyway, and also the commissioner needs to know budget cuts. Whatever plans you have anyway, basically put them on hold, because the economic is good. The economy is, thank you for looking, thank you. Oh, I didn't know you're so beautiful. Yes, now I definitely support. But I'd like to do is warn you that the economy and budget's going to be much worse than they're trying to tell you, because they totally padded the budget and the economy's dead in the water, and they filtered it much worse. They're doing everything to cover their tracks. And so, anyway, you're not going to have the money. Excuse me, Tom. Don't make me have to say, sit down, LaBonge, I got the floor. Look at him. I'm having a nice discussion.
Madam President, you should be speaking to the council as a whole, not to the...
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, then how about this? I'll speak to council as a whole. The planning commissioner needs to be aware that there was some, but planning has to do with housing. Bill Huey, Fair Housing, was here yesterday with somebody in Janice Hahn's district. There seems to be a problem with the rent escrow inspectors cracking down on the property owners, what is seemed to be illegal. Cities in a budget crisis, got to take in hundreds of millions of dollars to compensate. So what they're doing now on the agenda is a lot of improvement and maintenance requests and ordinances that they pass. Then when you can't comply, you probably make it into the escrow list, or then you get, there's going to be a lot of penalties, a lot of excuse me, I can't even hear myself. A lot of penalties and fees assessed if you don't follow. Now, these have always been on the agenda, but I'm seeing a whole bunch of new ones. I'm seeing more and more and more. So the benefit of coming to all the meetings for the people in the public. Warning for business owners, citizens alert, they're going to be making a lot of things relative to improvement and maintenances of your districts, and when you don't comply, well, then you're going to have to pay a lot of money, and that's all just because they have to get every dime, y'all. And you know what? We just had 3 hours of dog and pony shows, and I wouldn't want everyone to lose a quorum, so maybe I'll just waive the rest of my time on this item.
Thank you very much. Sean Murphy on this item. This is item number 2.
And now we're broke and you don't collect anything. I'd like to say I would like this $121,000 paid out of City Council's $40 million uncommitted council funds. In case you're not aware, there's $40 million council has divided up amongst the 15 shady criminals, and it's for them to do whatever they want. It's a slush fund. It's shady money. It's
Mr. Zine, he's not talking about...
Okay, I'm explaining what the money is used for and why it should be used for this. Please don't interrupt me. So the money is what council will use if, let's say, they have to pay a favor to somebody because they're running for election and they want to...
You're off track.
Okay, so let me bring it back. So there's four... Is there clarification from the city attorney's office? Is there or is there not $40 million of unaccounted for council funds that is their slush fund to do whatever they want? Yes or no?
To clarify, the Speaker is not talking about item number 41.
Okay,
He's already been warned.
I'll continue. You know, we need a city attorney that can keep up with the brilliant mind of Zuma Dog. I shouldn't be punished because he's too dumb to follow me. There's $40 million in council money. It's for stuff...
How many people are following you, Zuma Dog?
Yeah. Okay, and that's...
Thank you. Zuma Dog. Thank you. Thank you. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Mr. Zuma Dog, you're done. Mr. Parks.
Thank you, Wendy. I go to so much trouble to get here. I was the first person. I was here so early there wasn't one person here yet, so thank you for calling me up.
I apologize. It just handed to me in a stack, so.
Zuma Dog, number 13.
Yes, this is an important item. Some could say it's the most important item. We're talking about Childhood Hunger Day, and childhood hunger also a lot of times relates to homelessness. So let me give some ideas right now on how we can reduce childhood hunger and raise awareness on Childhood Hunger Day. First of all, you need to protect the city treasury so that you can continue to provide jobs and continue to provide services that will keep people, keep the city vibrant. Because when you do things like lose billions of dollars of pension money in shady Wall Street investments, well, then you have to lay people off, furloughs, job loss. Then people become homeless. They can't feed their kids. Other things is the insane fees and taxes that you put on the residents, the parents of these kids suffering from hunger. Perhaps if you were able to operate efficiently as you're supposed to, you wouldn't have the need to hike and increase every fee from parking to the water to everything, to everything in the city. You keep on, taxing and raising fees because you're so inefficient. So first of all, I'd like to remind you, Zuma Dog, quality and productivity czar of Los Angeles, would like to say, please look into the 14 points of quality management so you can reduce waste, so you can continue to operate. And these are some of the things that the city of Los Angeles can do to reduce childhood hunger. Hold on to more of the money to operate the city. Take less of it and put it in your back pockets. Give less of it to your own family members and cronies. become more efficient, be less corrupt, don't lose billions in pension, don't hike fees up all over the place, and the massive fraud, waste, and abuse. Anyway, today's a triumphant day in Los Angeles, and now let's get on to some serious conflict of interest corruption in the city of Los Angeles. We're talking about the Los Angeles Housing Department and Assistant GM Roberto Adalpe. So he is in charge of the rent escrow program. So due to the fact that Roberto Adalpe, the Assistant General Manager of the rent escrow program, is under allegations of massive conflict of interest, he is in charge of these REAP programs. He is an outreach contractor.
This is about removing the property
has a law firm.
on South Maple Avenue.
What?
It's about removing the property, so let's address
so I'm
to the
saying
subject.
that these properties should be removed immediately, and a friendly amendment to remove all properties off the REAP program due to the fact that Roberto Adalpe, overseeing the program, is accused of conflict of interest as discussed in this council chamber July 21st. Just ask Bernard Parks. 1 minute, thank you. Oh, every time they pass one of these donut sprinkling ceremonies, you know, we're talking about blackouts of the fire departments. Yes, we're not even going to be able to extinguish the flames in the city that are happening, and you guys continue to spend on this nonsense. It must come to an end. And what I'm also here to say is please pay attention to the next item, because just when they finally said they're going to do something about it, well, now they're asking for more time. Womp, 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 womp. You could just call me Charlie Brown. You could call City Council Lucy. And you can call the special event fees the football. And people, you guys, will you please do... I'm glad you like that. Please act upon it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zuma. Please no singing in the chambers. That matter is now before us. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Very well. Number
So I want to, okay, council, I would like for them to have a discussion on this topic as to whether they should be approving all this money that a council member who's under indictment, who's going to be
on the subject of the Pacoima Christmas Parade. Indictment is not the question. The Christmas Parade is the question.
They have the answers. Clearly you don't. Clearly you don't. Embrace the workers.
Thank you. Very well. That matter. Let me explain something, Mr. Zuma Dog. We call the name. If you're not here, then it's passed. We're not going to do second and third calls. You weren't here when your name was called. We're not going to hear from you. Well, you're not. I'm not doing it. If you're not here when your name's called, we're not going to have it again. Next item. Are we not in this matter? Open the roll. Close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
A plot there alongside the Ventura Freeway, so completely support you on that. I know Mr. Rosendal's spoken that before. But on the Hollywood Farmers Market, thank you for your patience, first of all, for waiting so long and for the 2 items that had to go before. The Farmers Market in Hollywood is not going to close. The Farmers Market in Hollywood is not going to leave Hollywood. And the Farmers Market in Hollywood also, 100% I agree with the sentiment and the philosophies of what everybody's put here. I can't go into great detail about it, but I shop there, go there, support it, etc. And I haven't just talked the talk, I've walked the walk on it. Whether it's $16.5 million to help, and I do prefer people to walk and not drive, but to have a parking structure there to keep it vibrant, whether it's been the expansion of space that we negotiated, when there's been development around it, and it's an example of where development helps things. They've been able to have the farmer's kitchen there now, the storage that's gone on there, etc. And then the expansion. We now have farmers markets just in my own district, many of them run by CLA, but not all of them in Hollywood, in Echo Park, where I live, in East Hollywood, a second one in East Hollywood by Barnsdall, in Atwater Village, in Silver Lake, and in Glassell Park. Only historic Filipino town in Mr. Valley don't have that. Those are FYI pieces. So lastly, I just want to say in terms of the progress of what's been happening, this is informational, it's not advocating. We have been meeting. I have a meeting on Thursday with the farmers markets folks as well. I am not going to complacently sit by and allow kind of non-electeds, let's say, to be in control of this process, because you need that accountability and you need someone who's going to take charge of this. We've been meeting for months on this, by the way. It's not just because folks are here that we haven't been working on this. I am confident that we'll be able to solve this and that we will, and I thank you for keeping the heat on and continuing to express that, and I think they're telling me I have to shut up.
Thank you, Mr.
so much for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Garcetti.
Boy, they must have been so shady, they're all so happy. All right, it's Zumadog, and I've written so much about this topic at lacitynews.com. We're talking about rent escrow. And I'd like to say, people, I would like you to take all of these properties off the rent escrow program pending the FBI investigation. I'm here to confirm that the FBI has been questioning community members over your rent escrow housing program. And I am also told that there's millions of dollars missing from the account. And I'm also told that Hakim Mordezai has stepped down under scrutiny. And, you know, it's very hard to concentrate, so all I like to say is that since I can't talk, I will let the FBI and the feds do the talking. Please take all of these properties off of rent escrow, because to confirm the top headlines, among the many federal investigations into LA City Hall, that includes pensions, it also includes rent escrow. Boy,
Matt Dowd, next speaker.